2023 has been a very interesting year for the Pokemon card market. You might want to call it like a price correction year. A lot of cards kind of correcting in price, especially as people are getting a little wiser with their collection spending dollars. We saw some huge upticks in price in 2020, 2021, even 2022. If you look at the tail end of 2022, October, November, December, we saw explosive growth involving a lot of alternate arts, a lot of like the Moonbreon, the Rayquaza VMAX, even sets that weren't Evolving Skies like Blaziken VMAX, Gengar VMAX. We saw huge upticks in price from the end of 2022 up until Q1 of 2023. Really, February, March is when things kind of slowed down for those alternate arts and then transitioned into alternate art promos from the XY Sun and Moon era, or the alternate arts from the back half of Sun and Moon, like Latias and Latios. That alternate art exploded in price, and then so did the others. They followed suit. That Latios and Latias went from like $300 to like $800 over the course of a couple months. It was absolutely insane. Other than those specific cards, though, for the most part, if you look at the TCG in general, a lot of cards have really gone in the downward direction. A lot of Charizards, a lot of fan favorite artworks have really gone in the opposite direction. And there's a lot of different reasons behind it. A lot of people are feeling the pressure of the economic times. Maybe they're selling off some of their collection. Some people might be moving out of the hobby, and that's what happens. This is a great hobby. It's a lot of fun. But unfortunately, it's not always going to be for everyone. And there's going to be times in your life where something else might tickle your fancy a little bit more, and you might start moving some of these cards because you don't need these cards to survive, right? So you might sell some of these cards to kind of move into a different hobby or something else that interests you as you kind of fade away. So it's very interesting to take a look at. And really, the back half of 2023 has been devastating for a lot of areas of the card market. A lot of things going in the opposite direction. A lot of things trending downward. However, that is not necessarily the case for everything. A lot of modern in general is down. However, if you look at some of the modern that might have been a little bit less printed, like Sun and Moon era, we looked at those last week. Today's video, we're going to look at the most expensive cards from the XY era, the XY generation. This was the introduction of Megas, and it was a very fun format to play. There was a lot of really cool sets throughout XY. Seismitoad came in and caused havoc all over the place. We had Night March, we had Mega Rayquaza. It was a lot of fun to play. However, a lot of these cards absolutely destroying the market in 2023. Very interesting to look at. So I'm going to flip you guys around. But if you do enjoy the data and if you enjoy the content, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, share with your friends. I really appreciate you guys just taking the time to watch. That means a lot to me. We're going to start out by looking at the top 15 cards in order from XY. So these are the most expensive cards throughout the XY generation. And the first one on the list is the Mega Charizard EX. Now, XY Flashfire in general, I remember Flashfire when it first hit stores because it came out like 2 weeks before the release date. Walmart broke street date like crazy, and people were kind of flocking to the stores to get sleeve booster packs of this because it was really the first huge Charizard set we had in quite some time. There's 4 different Mega Charizards in this set, plus a full art Charizard, plus a regular art Charizard. And if you remember, these sets were much smaller back then, and the amount of ultra rares were significantly smaller. The amount of ultra rares in this set basically totaled like the amount of alternate arts just in Evolving Skies. It was absolutely insane. So 4 Mega Charizards made up a huge amount of the ultra rares in the set. So the highest, most expensive one was the secret rare. There are 2 different versions, 2 different secret rares. The Mega Charizard that we're looking at right now, a lot of people refer to this one as the blue one because it has the blue flames, but basically it boils down to the X one and the Y one. But you can see Mega Charizard EX in December of 2022. This was selling at $211.81. Started going up a little bit, and then in February of 2023 leveled off all the way up until July, and then started taking off even more. It's sitting at a 1-year high right now of 333.67, but just huge growth patterns over the past year. I mean, you're looking at what, 40-50% growth over the past year, which is absolutely insane. The next one that we're going to look at is probably my favorite one on the list, and that's the Dialga EX, the full art silver card, metal card, whatever you want to call it. Now, this is just a normal cardboard card. This isn't a metal card. This is from Phantom Forces. I remember when Phantom Forces came out because it was my most, it was a set that I loved the most throughout the XY era. A lot of really cool competitive cards in the set. Plus, I do enjoy Gengar a lot. I like Manectric a lot. I like Dialga a lot. This Dialga was absolutely stunning, and it brought me into a lot of competitive playing because I wanted to build the Mega Manectric deck with Turbo Strike. It wasn't a very good deck, but that's what I wanted to play because those were my favorite cards at the time, and it was a lot of fun. But this Dialga EX was absolutely insane. This was really the first appearance of a full metal card like what we have here since the Zekrom and the Reshiram from Black and White Legendary Treasures. This was like the first time we saw a pattern like this, and really the last time we saw it, except for in Ultra Prism with the Solgaleo and the Lunala. It's absolutely insane. And then again in Dragon Majesty with the Ultra Necrozma. But they don't do this whole pattern a whole lot, so it's really cool to see. And because of that, it makes it very, very, very desired by a lot of collectors. You can see its low point in February of 2023. It was sitting at 149.32, but it's gone up 30-40%, somewhere around there over the past year. It's done a really good job, just kind of increasing every single month, sitting at 206.22 currently. Here's the Mega Rayquaza. So this one is from Ancient Origins, I believe. This was kind of a reprint with Emerald Break, but a different style. So this is more of a shiny variant of the Mega Rayquaza EX. You can see in November of 2022, this was sitting at $90.66. It almost doubled in price after that, all the way up until October of 2023. So just recently, it hit that one-year high of 168.22. It has backed off a little bit, but still sitting at 159.67. Just massive growth over the past year. Here's the other secret rare from Flashfire. This is the Mega Charizard EX from December of 2022 all the way up until July of 2023. It was relatively flat. You can see it hovering right around $85 in December of 2022. And then in July of 2023, it actually dropped down a little bit. It hit that one-year low of $79.59. However, then there wasn't that many available for people to purchase. And if you look at the last sold listings, there's not a whole lot of them that went purchased. And that's why it kind of jumped up in price. So this kind of escalated very quickly from July of 2023 until October of 2023, where it jumped up to 111.75 as its one-year high basically overnight. Now it's settled right around 108.40, but still not a whole lot of sales on this one. That's the other secret rare from Flashfire, the Gengar EX. This is the full art from Phantom Forces. Phantom Forces was just such a good set. Like, you're talking some amazing cards, not just ultra rares, not just beautiful full arts like this, but also a lot of really good staples in decks like VS Seeker, Battle Compressor. It was just such a good set. December of 2022, this Gengar EX with the beautiful colors in the background, kind of forming a vortex that Gengar is just kind of erupting out of. It's really cool. 59.45 was its low point, which it was sitting at in December of 2022. Just really strong growth over the past year. It's actually sitting at a one-year high right now of 106.38 and continuing to trend in the upward direction. Here's the Mewtwo GX, more commonly referred to as the Mewtube GX, as Mewtwo is kind of sitting in that test tube right there, getting created. A little bit on the downward trend right now, but this is from the Shining Legend. This is one of the first subsets that we had really after Generations. $79.44 was its low point, which is what it was sitting at in February of 2023. Some real strong growth after that, all the way up until October of 2023, where it hit that one-year high of 131.49. But now it's lost about half of that back. It's dropped about 25% over the past couple of months. It's down to 104.15. Shining Legends packs are very, very expensive. This is definitely the chase card in Shining Legends, but there's a lot of other really cool cards in the set. The reintroduction of Shining Pokemon altogether. Very interesting to watch this kind of trend in the downward direction currently. Here's the Charizard EX full art from Flashfire. This card is absolutely stunning. Beautiful artwork. They just don't make cards like this anymore. And a lot of cards nowadays are really cool because they do more of a storytelling idea, but this is a really cool card. In December of 2022, this was only selling for about 110. Started trending in the upward direction. You could see hit that one-year high in May of 2023 where it hit 125.90, but it's actually been on a downward slope since then. It's sitting at $100.23 right now, and that's just off of its one-year high, one-year low, which it hit at the beginning of October in 2023. Hit $99.28. It's been relatively flat, right around $100, $110 for the past couple of years, but actually trending in the downward direction right now. Here's Team Aqua's Kyogre EX. This is from the Double Crisis set, which was a very small specialty set that came out. Didn't have a whole lot of cards in it. Had the Kyogre EX as an ultra rare. Also had the Groudon EX as an ultra rare, and then a couple of really important staple trainer cards that kind of really impacted the format at the time. In December of 2022, this was sitting at $74.04. Because this was such a small set, it wasn't very popular, and it wasn't very popular because there wasn't a whole lot of cards that people wanted to pull out of it. Kyogre EX and Groudon EX, while they were beautiful to look at, they weren't played really in decks, so a lot of people didn't use them very much. A lot of people only were kind of opening up packs, maybe for collectors, also maybe because of the one or two stadium cards that they wanted to pull out of this set. But this card was sitting at $74.04 in December of 2022. started climbing in price pretty rapidly, and then in July of 2023 it was right around that 1 year high, ended up peaking out at September of 2023 at $94.70. It backed off a little bit now, still sitting at $88.94, so still huge growth over the past year. Here's the other Mega Charizard EX. This is the third of the four that we're going to look at. This is just the normal one. This is number 69 out of 106. You can see it sitting in December of 2022 at $67.54. Saw some explosive growth real quickly in February of 2023, jumped all the way up to that 1 year high of $100.56, and then started trending in the downward direction. You can see sitting at $84.53 currently, so still a little bit closer to its 1 year high than its 1 year low. The interesting tidbit about this Mega Charizard EX is this was actually available where people could buy them in battle decks. They were available in battle decks. There was a Mega Charizard EX and there was a Mega Blastoise EX, and at the time, those battle decks a lot of times had the same numbering system, so this wasn't numbered in the battle decks as a promo. It was just another card. It was just another Flashfire card of the Mega Charizard EX, where you were basically guaranteed, you bought the battle deck, you were guaranteed to get this exact card, where it wasn't an actual promo. So very interesting. That kind of impacted the market price in 2018, but now obviously that has long since passed, and it's exploded in price ever since then. Team Magma's Groudon EX in December of 2022. This was sitting at $57.68, so very similar growth pattern to what we saw from the Kyogre EX. Strong growth all the way up until May of 2023. That's where it hit that 1 year high of $88.59. It hasn't dropped quite as much as the Kyogre, but definitely really flat over the past 6 months or so. Still sitting at $83.13, but still really strong growth throughout 2023. Here's the Primal Groudon EX from Ancient Origins as well. So same thing as what we saw with the Mega Rayquaza. This is a really cool looking card. It's got the shiny border to it. This was kind of a secret. I believe this was not a secret rare number. This was just a special card that was added in Ancient Origins, much like what we saw from the Mega Rayquaza. In November of 2022, this was sitting at a 1 year low of $55.77, relatively flat up until April of 2023. That's when it really started taking off in price. You can see jumped all the way up in November to $70.19, so some strong growth there. It backed off a little bit, sitting at $69.89 currently, but still doing a very good job over the past year. Here's the Mega Rayquaza EX with Emerald Break from Roaring Skies. Roaring Skies got reprinted a ton and very late in the game, which heavily impacted prices on this. Also Shaman, the other reason was because they rotated out of format, but this is a beautiful card. When Mega Rayquaza EX came into format, people were flocking to pre-releases because they wanted to try this Emerald Break attack, let you kind of go through your entire deck on turn 1, turn 2. Very interesting card, was very popular in competitive play, won some huge events. In December of 2022, this was sitting at $45.62, and just really strong growth over the past year, jumping all the way up to $67.88 in October. That was its 1 year high. It's lost about 50 cents, but still doing extremely well. Here's the Primal Kyogre, another one of those shiny cards from Ancient Origins, trending downward through the end of 2022 up until the middle of 2023. You can see in May it hit that 1 year low of $61.27. It's gained about 10% since then, sitting at $65.78 currently, which is just off of its 1 year high, which is $67.46. But this is kind of an outlier from what we're looking at, because this, for the most part, was very flat throughout the entire year. Saw a little bit of a downspout, but other than that, very, very flat. Here's the Mewtwo GX from Shining Legends. This is one of the rainbow rares. I think this might be the only rainbow rare that's on the list as the top 15 price points. You can see trending in the downward direction, kind of like what we saw from the test tube Mewtwo. November of 2022, it was sitting at $67.78, relatively flat throughout the entire year, but it has lost about 10%, sitting at $61.60 currently. That's a 1 year low for that one. And then we have the Lugia EX, also from Ancient Origins. Ancient Origins, a lot of cards on this list. Lugia EX doing extremely well. Very beautiful looking card, trending downward a little bit from December of 2022 up until May of 2023. You can see it sitting at its 1 year low there of $47.83, but then gained about 30% after that, doing really, really well, jumping all the way up to $59.69 at the end of October in 2023. It's lost very little of that, sitting at $59.52 currently, but definitely trending in the upward direction. So for the most part, a lot of these most expensive cards from XY did really, really well during a down market, which is very interesting to look at. Obviously, XY a little bit more interesting of an era to look at. Same with the Sun and Moon, because a lot of people weren't thinking about collecting long term as much then as what they are now. Maybe they didn't take care of their cards as well as they do now. Also, Pokemon not as popular then as what it is now, so you might have a lower amount of printings that were out there than what we have now. But there's a lot of assumptions that can be be made, but ultimately a lot of really cool cards during that generation that maybe people weren't into Pokemon now, that's kind of causing these to really explode in price over the past year. But very interesting stuff to look at. I hope you like the content. If you do, please hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a long way for the algorithm. Most importantly, I'll just thank you for taking the time to listen to me ramble. I really appreciate it, guys. I'll be back in a couple days with another video. Until next time, peace.